This is the Dream It Alive show. I'm your host, Ash Kumara, co-founder of DreamItAlive.com. For those who don't know, DreamItAlive.com is a global community guiding users to create their dream life with visualization tools, dream boards, commonly known as vision boards, and personal development content. Why I mentioned that today specifically is because one of the core aspects of DreamItAlive.com is all about the belief that you can manifest anything in your life. Anything is attainable, anything is achievable if you conceive it, you believe it, and you act upon it with guided action and inspiration. And today's guest is someone who I feel really understands this better than most people. JB Glossinger is the founder of morningcoach.com, and morningcoach.com to me is a really great testament of how amazing personal growth and how everything is, going to help you become your best self. I was happily recommended to it by Rachel Brooks Smith. We actually had her on our show. Actually, it was our first interview actually for this whole show. And, morningcoach.com it's so cool. Like every day I get to be on that and I get to hear like great inspirational messages from JB, and they have great content. And I think what JB is really specializing in, whether he likes it or not, is this whole notion of transformational, experiential experiences. It's not just one thing to read scriptures. It's not just one thing to, like we have encouraged you to do a dream board. It's also another thing to take inspired action. Take what you have learned from your past, from your environment, from the present day, and make the next day better than yesterday. And it's so cool because as I've gotten to listen to morningcoach.com, I just feel this like kindred connection to JB. I've never met him before. Again, I was humbled and honored that he's going to be on this show in a little bit. But it's really cool that the stuff that he's providing is no nonsense. How to become the best version of yourself. You don't need a master's degree. You don't need to have climbed the Himalayas to achieve it. You can just achieve it now. And it's really cool to have that kind of belief and encouragement and, someone who has been there, done that, and who can now encourage other people to, attain what is needed, which is really, really cool. JB Glossinger is a leader in the world of new ideas and fresh thought. I mean, as he is a founder of personal evolution, taking personal development to a whole new realm. Besides morningcoach.com, its influence is achieved over 100 different countries, and people hear it through his daily Coachcast, which is apparently really huge on iTunes. If you do a search on a Morning Coach and Coachcast, you'll see that it's been really, really high. And he's continued to just help the world lead to a higher consciousness with his own speaking and various things. In fact, one of the cool things about morningcoach.com is that if you sign up, you actually get to get some free content, like some free materials just for signing up for free on his site, which I feel is a fantastic way to do a business. The whole concept of freemium is such a well-known concept, but it's one more level when you make a site free to join and then you offer amazing free content, so good content that you actually would have to pay for it in order to just to be on it. So, it's pretty cool what he's doing. So in one sec, we are going to have JB on our show, and we're going to dive into the interview, and we're actually going to get some audience questions like we always do. Just one thing I want to say, folks, some of the questions you guys have been asking has been phenomenal. It's been really, really amazing where it's been going. And, some of the questions, I have to admit, some of the people are just really like, wow, like we're really, really, really empowered. Like some of the people who got interviewed actually were saying to me, wow, like I wish I had these questions in advance, so they definitely got me in that flow state. So anyhow, let's get started. So JB, how you doing, man?
Fantastic. Thank you. Is this Ash?
Yeah, this is me.
Hey, brother. Doing fantastic. Things are great, man. Just coming off the golf course, actually.
Oh, wow. Awesome, man. How'd your game go?
Good. It was really good. And I had the weirdest thing. I got to tell you, the timing worked out perfect because I had the Xerox company. They called me, and they had a 2 o'clock book. It was crazy. It was insane. It's all awesome. So I was on the phone with them for 2 seconds and came over. So life is good. I'm here, ready to rock and roll.
Awesome. Well, JB, I'm just curious, and people who have heard about this interview prior had asked me to ask you this too. Tell us, briefly your life story. Like, how did you get to morningcoach.com?
Oh, man, I just sucked. I mean, honestly, I just failed so much that I just kept failing over and over and over again. It's really a comedy of errors. And the truth of the matter is I was pretty successful at the corporate level, and I thought that, to get out and help people and put it, to make a difference in the world, all you had to do was build a website and write a book. And so I quit my job and did that. Just fell flat on my face. Lost my house, lost everything. It's crazy.
It's amazing. Well, go a little deeper. Like, I want to know about the troughs. I want to know about the one pivotal moment that made you say, okay, I'm going to go make this shift. A great analogy I like to use is, for those who are familiar with Tony Robbins, he at one time was broke like no joke. He was living in a 400 square foot house or condo in Venice. He was literally cleaning the clothes out of his bathtub, and he literally went out for a jog on the beach, and he said to himself, I'm going to transform myself. And then from there on, he started to make the changes needed. Give us your story of what your life was like and what made you decide to change, if you don't mind me asking.
Well, yeah, no, that's fine. No, I was in corporate, and literally, I did everything that people had said to do. I went to school, got the bachelor's. It took me till I was 25. I wasn't the best student, but I got it. Then at night, I went and got my MBA. I was working in health clubs and just surviving. And, then all of a sudden I got introduced to a gentleman that sold helicopter engines or wanted me to sell helicopter engines. I had no idea about helicopter engines, but I got in the aerospace industry and just started working in the aerospace industry and grew through it, about 4 or 5 different companies until I was on the board of directors, making great money, had the life that really a lot of people aspire to have, a lot of money, traveling all over the world, great wife, great family, but I was miserable. I was literally come home on Thursday night, start drinking. Friday, I go to work. I hated it. I was working 60, 70 hours a week. And, I'd self-medicate through the weekend and start all over, wash, rinse, repeat on Monday. And I just had the life of, it just sucked. I mean, I have no other way to say it. It's just like I thought, I got to the pinnacle of where I was supposed to be, and it sucked. It was no fun. I was doing the same things every weekend. Yeah, I was traveling, but I was just working, and I was in this gray office, and, I had a whole team that everybody thinks this is what you're supposed to do, right? And it was just horrendous. I was miserable. And so I started looking at the metaphysical side of things and the spiritual side of things and started reviewing my values. And I found that my number one value is freedom. It's up there. Let's not say number one, but at that time it was number one. Right now I'm free, so it's, not as big, but spirituality is big, family. But those were kind of my values, So this freedom value kept ringing true. But here I was in a job that I was at the top of the food chain, reported to the CEO on the board, but yet I had no freedom. I had to be at their beck and call. I had to go to the board meeting. I had to go to that office every day. I had to manage the people. And, I wasn't in alignment with what I really needed to do. So I decided, like any rational human being, and that's in jest, right, that I'm going to write a book, become a motivational speaker like Tony, go out and change the world. And it's really easy because I've done everything they've told me. I've had success at corporate. So let's just write this book. Let's put it out there. And, you're going to sell millions of copies. So literally I quit my job. I took what money I had. I invested like $40,000 in books. I bought them myself because nobody would publish me. I put a bunch of money in a website, spent tons of money, and then had the books shipped to me. And so literally when those books were coming to me, I was all excited. In my head, I'm thinking, I'm going to make millions and millions of dollars here. This is going to be awesome. Life is great. We're going to sell millions of books. And so the day the books came, I'll never forget it. I was sitting there waiting for the books to come, and the phone rang. And I grabbed the phone, and I'm like, well, who is this? I knew the books were coming, and it was a truck driver. And he said, is this Mr. Glossinger? And I said, yeah. He goes, do you have the forklift ready? Because I have your books here. And I'm like, forklift? What the heck do I need a forklift for? I bought books on Amazon before. They just come in a box, right? And So I was waiting, and here comes this forklift pulling up, and, my neighbors are thinking I'm moving, and he opens up the back, and literally there's books everywhere. So me and my wife start taking the books in. The guy said, I'm not going to help you carry these things in. So we start carrying the books in, and, literally we have boxes everywhere in the living room, the kitchen, the bathroom. There's 5,000 books, and you think, like, well, that's not that many books, but I'm telling you, it's crazy how many books that is. So in my mind, I'm thinking, don't worry, honey, we're going to be fine. I'm going to sell these. I actually paid to speak the following weekend, $500 to speak in an event, this holistic event, and they gave me a table. So I opened up the books. I was so excited. We were going to sell them all that weekend, and I flipped to the couple pages of the book, and there were spelling errors. And I was like, oh, man, you know what? I'm not worried about that. Let me go to the next one. So I opened another box. I went in there, and I'm like, oh, this box too. And I went to the next one. In every box, these books were just spelling after spelling errors. So I'm like, what the heck happened? So I went to this real dejected point, like, what am I going to do? And so I sat down, and then I called the printer and said, hey, these books are off. And he said, well, you signed up on the PDF. And I did. I didn't read the proof. I just thought it was the one they were supposed to use. And so I didn't know what to do, and then I got my wife and I said, you know what, let's just make Post-it notes and we'll put them on here that, this is the first 5,000. These are collector's editions. Don't worry, we're cleaning it up and we'll send you a new one after we sell these, thinking that I was going to sell all these in a weekend. So we take them all. We take like 3,000 books to this event and I speak and I go back to my booth. And literally by the end of the day, we had sold 4 books. And so you talk about the walk of shame. We had to take all those books back to the car, back to the house. And I don't think there's any other feeling worse than when you're sitting, in home and you have all these books around you and you just see your failure. It was just failure all over. And so I looked at those books and I said, gosh, I got to do something. Thought I was going to sell them. And I said, well, the internet is my saving grace. So I had this internet page and, again, put the website up and put some stuff out there on the internet that the book is out. And the sales started coming. Again, I got really excited. But then I looked and the sale was to my mom, my aunt, my cousin. And then the sale stopped. So, like in the first 3 weeks of my changing the world, I think I sold 7 books and I was out, almost $50-some thousand plus web development and everything else. And so my world was just crashing around me. And I just couldn't figure out why people didn't get it, why they wouldn't buy the books and why they wouldn't, why they didn't want the positive attitude. I even went to a bookstore, I'll never forget this, in Fort Lauderdale where I live, and I took a bunch of books and they had all these chairs set up for me to speak to people and there was nobody there. Finally a guy came in and sat down and I started my whole spiel about the book and what it was about, and about 5 minutes in, he got up and left. So I was like, what do I do? So I just gave the best speech I could to that chair. And so that comedy of errors just kept occurring. Like, I kept failing. Like, I would try to do an event, nobody would come, and I couldn't figure out how these people did it. It's like, what the heck? Why? How do these? I'm a good person. I was thinking, I want to motivate, help people. Why won't anybody come and listen to me? And I really got frustrated at that point in my life. It was really dark. And there was no Archangel Gabriel coming down or any true calling, but a good buddy of mine said, hey, why don't you start doing a morning message? So I went on GoDaddy and I searched for a URL, and morningcoach.com was available. So I started recording myself, or I started doing it on, actually the first step was I did it on freeconferencecall.com. People would call in, and basically back at that time there was MySpace. So I would put stuff out on MySpace, and people would come to this website that I literally built, because the other website wasn't working and I needed a place where people could get the number, and I had to have them give me their email. And this was probably the worst looking website ever. I did it over 24 hours. I bought a book called Build Dreamweaver in 24 hours, or Build a Website in 24 Hours, Dreamweaver. And at that point, I had no money, so I actually had to pirate the Dreamweaver software, which was like an internet software to build it, and put that out there, and something crazy happened. People started to listen. And as they started listening, I failed again because only 200 people would fit on the line, and the line started breaking. So people started emailing that, JB, this thing isn't working, this sucks, this is terrible. And I'm like, gosh, can I win here? And at this whole time, my mind, I'm thinking, man, I may need to go back to work. I'm back on my mortgage. We actually ended up losing the house. And I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. And at that time, podcasting started coming around. So I said, let me record this thing and try to figure it out. So I started to record it, and this is a true story. I didn't know how to mute the line. So I would be doing my good morning, everybody, and I'd be all excited, and people would be listening in. And in the background, literally, there was a guy that every morning I'd say good morning. He would go, and you'd hear this tink in the stream, and then a flush. And he was going in the bathroom in the back of my podcast, and I didn't know, and I would put this up. The only reason I knew was everybody was sending me emails like, JB, there's a guy going in the bathroom again in the back of the podcast. So it was just horrendous. It was just a comedy of errors. It was like one thing after another after another. I'm like, gosh, what is wrong with me? And one day, I kept putting it up there, and we started getting some traction. And then we had like 400 listeners, and then iTunes featured me, and we went from 400 to 40,000. I went to top 20 in the world. I beat Oprah and Ellen, and it just blew up from there. Things just went crazy. So, it was really just failure after failure after failure after failure after failure until it finally started to work.
Wow. And let's talk about the evolution. I mean, I saw your video today on the evolution of morningcoach.com, but for the entrepreneurs out there, I'm just kind of curious, like, what are some of the key things you have done to make this a success? And it is a success. I mean, if people in over 100 countries are listening to it, and you have a recurring revenue model, and most importantly, you're doing what you love for a living and being successful at it, it is a success. So what are some of the key things you've done to make it a success?
Yeah, I mean, it's killing it now. I mean, we've got, thousands of people around the world in 100-plus countries now. I'm done at 9:30 every morning. I just signed with Hay House. I'm doing a huge book deal with them. I was on stage with Dr. Wayne Dyer this year, which was just huge. One of my mentors, I keynoted at High Point University for Nito Cobain, who's somebody I used to listen to tapes way back when, and I actually spoke after Nito, which was just surreal. And so, yeah, I've gone from the zero to hero, really. I mean, I have no other way to put it. And, we've had this really, really awesome success. And truly, I got to tell you, I think the bottom line has been authenticity. Just being able to tell people that I have sucked, and that I'm just like you, and that I just kept fighting the battle. I mean, I've done 2,700 coach casts is what I call them now, with my business cast and podcast every single day. I've been out there every day. I love my people. I love the people that are Morning Coach members. I legitimately care about them. I'm not in the game for money, and the money just comes. And I know that's challenging when you're not making money, but the truth is that if you love it and you're passionate, that's what people are going to know. And if you're authentic and real, they know you're not full of BS, and they're gonna believe in you. And if you can help them, we've had entrepreneurs on Shark Tank that have listened to me, that I've worked with, that have helped gone in there. Stay-at-home mother who was on Shark Tank recently. We've had stay-at-home mothers who have built businesses or have helped their families get to the next level. I mean, now the level of success is from the testimonials from the people that have really have risen up. But my belief was the hardest part, of holding this thing together. Because when I was getting beat up and failing over and over, it was like, man, I got to hold my authenticity. And this is really a big part of this, because I paid $5,000 for an image consultant on the back of my original book, and I just failed. I mean, that was like the worst thing I ever could do. I said, if I'm going to suck, I'm going to be in shorts and a T-shirt. And that's when everything started to change, is when I'm like, look, I'm just going to be me. Forget trying to be this guy in the Armani and put on these little glasses and be something that everybody supposedly wants. It's kind of the reason a lot of Hollywood movies are terrible, is because they're trying to fit into some demographic instead of being an artist and letting their art come through. And so that's, I think, the number one thing is just, as an entrepreneur, be authentic, be real. Stop trying to do things for the numbers and do them because you're passionate about it. That's
awesome. Well, I'm just curious. You said you've inspired some people even from Shark Tank. Tell us about those people. I mean, if you're allowed to share their name or at least share what happened, I'm kind of curious.
No, it's great. Yeah, no. Janelle did Cool Wazoo. You might have seen it. It was last year, and she was a Morning Coach member and a stay-at-home mom, and she started listening to Morning Coach and got inspired to do something, and she had this, her baby got burned on a swing, and she's like, man, if JB can do this, I can do this, and she patented this Cool Wazoo product, took it on Shark Tank, and got it funded. Awesome, awesome stuff. So we've had amazing stories all the way to, the one that touched me one day was I got a 6-page handwritten letter in the mail, and it was from a lady who was over in Europe, and she sent me a letter and said, JB, I just want to tell you this story. And I started reading it. She's like, I'm here in Europe, or I'm in San Diego now. She's in California now. But she said, I was in Europe and I married this awesome European guy, and we were in love, and we moved to Europe, and we had 2 beautiful children. And she started writing, and she said, then it went bad after 2 years, and he started to beat me. And as he was, it was every night he would beat me, and I would go in the closet, and I didn't know what to do. I'd hide. And she goes, I started listening to you on Morning Coach, and it's the only thing I had. You were the only person with me. And I'm reading this, and I'm going, geez, oh, Pete, And she goes, then it got really bad. He started being abusive to the children. And she said, you talked about belief and just believing. And so I took the little money I had, and I'm reading this letter. And she goes, I was from California, so I just flew to California with no friends or family, and I just went with my kids. And she goes, I got there, and it was tough. And I flipped the page, and she's telling me about all the trials and how she had no money, and she still paid her monthly membership to Morning Coach and listen every single day. And I get to the end, and she's like, and all I'm thinking this whole time, Ash, is, man, I hope my stuff works, right? I mean, I'm going, geez, Pete, she's getting beat by her husband and flying to California and giving up her whole life. I'm like, man, I hope she's going to be successful. And I turn to the final page, and I finally get to that last paragraph, and she says, JB, I just want to tell you I love you. I'm here on the beach. Yesterday I ran my marathon. Both of my beautiful children are at the finish line. I have this wonderful new man in my life. I got a great job in life. It's great.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and I set the letter down, and literally, it doesn't matter. At this point, the money doesn't matter. Those are the things that motivate me. It's like, from a guy that had the book fail, and from people that wouldn't listen, and a guy that, wouldn't get, got up and left me, and I sat there staring at that one chair, and, literally in tears as I left. It's like, I know I can help people. I know I have energy. I know I can make a difference. And not understanding this marketing stuff, why isn't it working, to now getting emails like that and letters, handwritten letters, it's just amazing. And that's why I think, I'm inspired to do what I do, because we need everybody's greatness. Because the longer you're down and you feel like you're getting beat up and you're giving up, the less wonderful this world is. Because I've been there. I know the feeling. It sucks. And you just got to keep going after it and persist. It's crucial.
Yeah, no, that's so true. That's so true. One of the things I got from this just statement you just talked about is that, certain things don't really matter, like money and fame and all that. What are your next big dreams and goals? I'm just kind of curious. Like, if you on your own dream board or your own mission statement, like what are the things you haven't yet accomplished yet, but you'll do in 2015?
Yeah, we're moving into South America because my wife's Colombian. I live in Bogota 2 months a year, so we're going to be doing more in Spanish. It's just the impacting. I mean, my deep dream is to impact consciousness of the planet. I believe that there is no need for disease, hunger, or poverty. As a species, we could evolve and move past that already. We have the intellectual capacity, but we have so much hatred. We have so much lack. We have so much fundamental problems as a species. That we got to evolve, and that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we're doing, is really making a difference in the world one person at a time. So we're scaling Morning Coach. I'm also moving more into the lifestyle area because my dream is to help millions of people become free, to be able to live the life that I live, to be done at 9 in the morning. I can't stand that people have to go to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week and spend 10 hours with their family, 20 hours with their family. It's just wrong. And it's the greatest time to be alive. And if you use systems properly, my whole Glossinger kind of side of things is called intelligent life design. I'm helping people design their lives. And I want millions of people to be free because it's time. And those millions of people are going to make a difference in the world.
Okay, cool. Well, we got a couple questions from the audience. And so let me get straight at it, because I think some of these questions I would have actually asked you. Also, Catherine wanted to know, hey, JB, big fan of what you're doing. I'm kind of curious. You seem to be really in sync with having high energy, being in great shape, looking good for your age. What are some daily habits, whether it's diet or exercise or types of meditations that you do daily?
100%. Gosh, that is such a great question. You know, when I was really things were going bad and the podcast was just starting and I wasn't making any money, I spoke at Blog World, and I'll never forget, there's a picture. And that's the day I met Tim Ferriss that day, and I was like, and I wonder why, Tim, we didn't hit it off initially. And I actually use this in presentations. I look like a heroin addict. I did the opposite of most people. Instead of gaining weight, I lost weight. I got down like 140 pounds. I was skin and bone, like really bad, like sick. And I hooked up with a guy named Mike Lee Kinerik, an ex-Israeli Special Forces person. And for 2 years, I worked out 3 times a day. Totally transformed my body and transformed my life. So I'm big into that. And I believe, you know, your health is critical, because without health, you can't really make the changes you need to make, and you need energy, right? So for me, I train with Billy Beck III, who's a trainer here in Fort Lauderdale, a really amazing guy, 3 times a week. I also believe in meditation. I meditate every single day. I start the morning in A Course in Miracles. Normally every morning, that's my normal start time. I believe in supplementation, and I believe in eating right and sacred eating. So if you're a carnivore, that's cool. I am. If you're a vegan, I'm not into labels, but I am into sacred eating. So if I eat meat, I'm blessing that meat. I understand that animal gave its life for me. If I had a plant, I understand that plant gave its life for me. And it just changes. It's really hard to have sacred eating when you're eating at McDonald's. So that's a phenomenal question. And yes, as an entrepreneur, you have got to carve out time for your physical health and fitness. When I'm not training at Billy Beck's, I run 5 miles. This morning I got up, my normal morning, I get up, I drink 11 water, and I did my 2 podcasts first thing, ran for 5 miles, did a small session with somebody I needed to help, wrote 1,500 words, and was done by 10:30, off to the golf course. So to have that ability to get up in the morning and do those things and be sharp, you have to take care of yourself. Great question.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you, Captain, for asking that. The other question is from Rob. His question is to you is, JB, where do you see the self-help inspirational movement going right now? I'm starting to notice personally that there's a lot of books and content around financial abundance and success. Do you agree, or is there other big macro trends that you're interested in?
Yeah, well, I don't mind financial success and abundance. I got a good friend, Randy Gage, who I think does some amazing work in that area. My issue is that even going back to my own development, back when I was reading Tony and Zig Ziglar and those guys, the problem that I have when it's about abundance and prosperity, again, with a caveat here, I don't have a problem with that, is that I really hope it's shifting more to clarity, because for some people, really talking to their teenage son or daughter is more important than making millions of dollars, you know? And I think sometimes we get so shifted into this abundance and prosperity mindset, and believe me, I'm against lack. I want everybody to be prosperous. But we have to take it step by step. I mean, it's your story, it's your life, and so I'm hoping that it goes more towards that area. You know, the book I'm writing for Hales is about productivity and getting things done. But you're right, it is a big area right now, prosperity and abundance, because that's the low-hanging fruit in self-help. The most people want to make more money. So you can put out stuff, and it's really easy because everybody's grabbing at that. And it's needed. Don't get me wrong. Randy Cage changed my life. Napoleon Hill changed my life. I was a guy that wouldn't spend a dime on an event. I would buy used books. I didn't understand values. And now I'm in super high-level masterminds. I spend more money on development than I do anything. But there's also a point where you've got to be clear, and that's where I really would like to see, self-help, personal development work more in those areas. But you're right, the trend is abundance and prosperity.
Awesome. Well, the last question, and this is from Michelle. She just wanted to know, hey, JB, I'm a big fan of what DreamItAlive.com is doing, and, early in the show they talked about how they have dream boards and visualization tools. Do you yourself use any types of tools, and why?
Yeah, I'm a big tool person. I journal every single day. I believe journaling is one of the most critical things you can do. For one of the things I teach is psychological time. So I believe you can add years to your life once you understand time. It's too deep to get in the conversation today, but the truth is there's no future and there's no past. Past electricity in the mind, the future is yet to happen. It will occur, but it'll be what's called the continuum of the now. It will be this moment. And so what the journal allows you to do, just to give you some basic ideas here, is it allows you to really get control of that time, because you'll find that you write an entry in your journal and 3 months go by and you don't write an entry in your journal. And you'll sit there and you'll try to remember what happened in those 3 months, and you were caught up in the minutiae of the day, and your life just flew past. It just flew, you know? And so the journal is a big part of it. I love visualization. I love vision boards, dream boards. Anytime you are taking some time to work on your life is beautiful to me. You know, most people, and not the listeners here, but most people, you know, they spend more time on their wedding that's one day than they do on their entire life, looking at what they want to achieve, what they want to bring in. And so your audience, Ash, obviously is a little different, but still, that's a big concern of mine. It's just like sacred text. People say, Jamie, you read a lot of sacred text. Yes, a lot of times I'm not reading the Bhagavad Gita or the Bible, the Quran, the Kabbalah, whatever I'm reading at a particular time to actually read the message. I'm just reading that to find the sacred time, the spiritual time, because I know I'm going to my spiritual center at that time. So we've got to really, really, really make sure that the tools are being used properly, and that we are focusing on what's really important, okay? And, yeah, I love tools, and anybody that uses them is actually doing more. Just by using the time to use them, you're doing more than 90% of the people out there, at least 80%.
Awesome. Well, JB, I won't take up more of your time. Before we end this interview, any last words? Where can people find you for new listeners who haven't heard you yet?
They can find me at Morning Coach or Glossinger.com, morningcoach.com, Glossinger.com. And really, you know, I just want to, hopefully I can inspire you to know that if a small-town kid from Indiana can do this, you can do it too. The world needs coaches. The world needs greatness, positivity, energy. We need everybody out there trying to make a difference and making a difference, and we do it together. And remember, thoughts are things, right? But beliefs makes them so, but actions solidify the belief. So get out there and take massive action towards your dream, and believe me, you'll go up and down and inside and out. The life is a roller coaster, but you'll get there if you just stay at it.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you again, and you have a magnificent day, and thank you for making the world be a better place.
All right, Ash. Thank you, brother. Have a great one.
All right.